Hi.
Hey,
Are you doing your tarot, your card reading?
I no, I no, my cards are in the
Oh,
back. I was cleaning
okay.
your brother's room yesterday of some of the things, and I wanted to get some kind of plastic container to put the cards in because I have when I graduated high school they gave us a cedar box. It's like a little box, and I have some cards in there, but it's full. So I had extra cards that um they were just out, and I wanted to like put them together. And Snoopy got into the box of the one tarot cards I have. And what was it? Thursday, I came home from work and there's pieces of like the box all over my bed. Luckily, I had the cards were not in the box. The cards I'd put in like a little burlap bag because I've been working with them. So they were in a bag. It was just the box he ate. But I don't understand why he's got to eat the boxes. Like,
So I went to bed the other day and I had I had the cup last episode. It's a little mason jar looking cup and it had like little evil eyes on it and I have this thing where I have favorite cups. I can only drink coffee out of one cup. I can only drink tea out of one cup. This one's my water cup for right now, and then I'll buy a new one and I hyperfixate on this new cup and whatnot. But I
you
have these
tell me
evil
we
eye.
don't have autism. Tell me that is not autism.
I don't know. It's something
I am
because
autistic. I am definitely autistic. I don't care what the therapist says.
I I like it's if I drink it out of another cup, it doesn't taste right.
Thank you.
Sounds
Yes.
terrible, like saying it out loud. But like
Like I can only drink water out of certain, like I can't drink it out of a plastic cup because if I drink it in a plastic cup, it tastes like soap because it was been cleaned, and it's just weird stuff.
I have to drink it out of a glass. It has to have a straw, especially cans, because if I
You don't like the
my
texture.
my no, it's not the texture. My logic is that half of the can, like when you get down to the half of the can, like liquid death, okay? You get down to that last bit and you're like, "Ugh, I don't really this doesn't taste like it does the first couple of sips." So my logical thinking is if I take the straw, I'm drinking the bad stuff and then I've got the good stuff that first like liquid death open, crack a can open and sip. That's my thinking. But even with like cups and stuff, I really, really like the cups that have lids. Well, I was reading and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bed because I'm falling asleep. Completely forgot about the cup. Loki got a hold of it and destroyed it. Luckily, he didn't eat any glass. I think he was just trying to eat the lid and the straw. And because it's such a fragile glass, must have did something and it popped. But like, there's no, he didn't get anything. Thank God, he didn't get anything in his paws or in his mouth. Like that was a very, very close call. But they chew the weirdest things. He chewed a pillow, puppies.
Yeah. Well, that I think that might be anxiety. Cece used to like. There's a couple blankets around here that have little holes in them, like little mouse holes from
I
Cece
know
too.
he doesn't. Well, okay, so he doesn't chew actual pillows, but this pillow was like fluffy and stuff. So I wonder if he almost thought it was a stuffed animal.
Maybe
I guess blue healers do a lot of stuff with their mouths. Like they're very,
oral,
they do a lot of stuff
orally
with.
fixated.
Yeah. And I don't know about Rottweilers too much, but I did see that
Well,
blue
Rottweilers like
healers,
to eat.
he does
Eat.
like to eat. He has a shirt that says, "Food is my Valentine."
Hmm. I gotta get. I think Snoopy needs some clothes, but he needs he needs a shave. But I'm not shaving him because it's too cold.
What's your
Okay.
episode about? I'm excited.
Okay. You ready? Okay. Well, Cass is not with us. She's got children to deal with, so it's just gonna be me and Tori. So I must issue a trigger warning first, as this case may be disturbing and may upset certain people as it pertains to children being murdered.
This is great. That's sarcastic.
Yeah. If child murders are upsetting to you, please skip this episode. Please note that this episode is not safe for young children to overhear.
No, I don't think a lot of our episodes are safe for children to overhear.
That's
Maybe
true.
maybe like a ghosty one, but even then, like I don't even feel like that.
No, we're definitely not child friendly for
No.
maybe 13 or 14-year-olds, but I would say depending on the maturity level of said 13 or 14-year-old. Okay. On
God.
June 6th, 1996, the murders of two innocent boys took place in their home on Eagle Drive in Rowlett, Texas. The resulting investigation and arrest sent shockwaves through the small town and the United States. Can you guess the case we're going to talk about today?
Well,
No, it's a Texas case. It's child murders.
the only one that's coming to my head is Debbie Downs, and I know it's not her.
No,
Diane
it's not her.
Downs, whatever her name is.
Diane
I don't
Downs.
care.
No, we're not talking about Diane Downs today. This episode of Let's Get Paranoid podcast discusses the disturbing case of Darlie Routier. Does that name ring a bell?
Oh,
What do you
is
know
she
already?
the one that? I think this is on Forensic Files. I think this is the right episode. But she like has a party at their grave and like throws. Okay.
Yes, yes. Do you think she's innocent or guilty?
I don't know. I think there's new evidence that came out that she's uh not guilty.
Okay.
Right? I don't know. I haven't followed it a lot, but I swear I heard that there's evidence that proves her innocence.
We'll find out, won't we?
I guess.
Okay. Darlie Lynn Peck was born on January 4th, 1970 in Altoona, Pennsylvania, to Larry Peck and Darlie Key. She is a...
Wait, say that again. I'm trying to process this all.
Darlie Lynn Peck was born on January 4th, 1970
Oh.
in Altoona, Pennsylvania to Larry Peck and Darlie Key. She is a...
She's unfortunately a Capricorn.
She is a Capricorn. Darlie also has a sister named Danielle, with her parents Larry and Darlie Key. When her parents divorced, Darlie, her mother, and her sister moved to Lubbock, Texas, along with her new stepfather, Robbie Key. There, she met 17-year-old Darren Routier. She was 15, and she married him 4 years later at the age of 19. He was a baby.
Young.
So, he's 15, 16. He's 2 years older than her, so she was 19 and he was 21 when they got married. Darlie graduated from high school in June of 1988 and married Darren in August of 1998. So
They waited a year.
yeah, that's a wrong year. Wait. Anyway, yeah, it was like right away. It was right. My writing is wrong because the one says 1988 and married Darren in August of 1998, but that's not correct. But yeah, she graduated high school and married him right away. Darren had a lucrative job as an entrepreneur running his own company testing electronics. He and Darlie purchased a modest home in Rowlett, Texas, and the couple went through money faster than Darren could make it. They spent thousands of dollars on home renovations, and Darren purchased a 1982 Jaguar and a 30-foot cabin cruiser, while Darlie had her breasts augmented in 1992. The couple also bought lavish gifts and spent a lot of money on expensive jewelry. They were living the dream.
Living like Larry.
Yes. Yes. Leisure Suit Larry. Do you remember the game Leisure Suit Larry? You probably wouldn't, and you shouldn't if you do.
No, I was just saying that because of SpongeBob.
Okay. Well, for the Generation X's out there, we know who Leisure Suit Larry is.
Well, I guess I'll have to look it up.
You'll have to look it up later. Devin Rush Routier was born on June 14th, 1989, about 10 months after Darlie and Darren were married. So he was a
Gemini.
Gemini. 20 months after that, Darlie gave birth to Damon Christopher Routier on February 19th, 1991.
That's
Pisces?
I think yeah, Pisces or Aquarius, but I think Pisces.
And I think it's a Pisces. Your cousin Carly's born on February 19th.
Okay, yes, and she's Pisces.
Yep. Not same year though. After that. Their third son Drake was born on October 18th, 1995.
October 18th, Libra.
Yeah. I don't know about you, the viewers, but I suffer from postpartum depression after my first 3 pregnancies. By my 4th pregnancy, I think I could better manage the hormones. Either that or I gave up and just gave in. My pregnancies were not as close as Darlie's first 2 pregnancies were, so I'm assuming the hormones were crazy enough to cause some sort of postpartum something or other. I had read somewhere that after the murders, which I will get to in a bit, the murders may have been caused by some sort of postpartum depression. If you are one to believe that Darlie was the executioner of said murders.
It would be depression or it would be psychosis.
Well, psychosis is worse than depression. Depression is just like sadness and just, not being able to get out of bed and not being able to function. Like the psychosis, which like Andrea Yates, she had postpartum psychosis, which she was hearing voices and the voices were telling her children were needed to go to a better place. And,
It's just really sad that we don't have better resources for that. You're just supposed to suck it all up. Get over it.
well, the medicine's made for men anyway. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you're right.
Medicines are tested on men and it affects women different. We have different hormones.
And there's a lot of procedures that men get that they'll have painkillers or they'll have medicine for, and then there's procedures women have, and we're not given anything. Take Tylenol.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Friends and neighbors reported that the Routier family was a picture-perfect family. Darren was a hard-working individual, and in order to provide for his family, he, worked really hard. They lived in a nice neighborhood. Darlie was a stay-at-home mom and was considered beautiful with her perky breasts and bleached blonde hair. She was a model mother. What?
I think they showed her on Forensic Files. I do think she had a pretty face.
Oh, she is beautiful. I think she's beautiful. Yeah, she's really good looking. Even, now she's like 53 or 54. She's still pretty. Her hair's naturally dark now, but no, I think she's a pretty woman. She's older than me. She was a model mother with 3 adorable little boys. They were so cute. So I guess we'll be posting pictures of them, of the boys.
Yeah, I have the picture up.
Yeah.
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 If you're on YouTube, you'll see pictures. If you're on Instagram, well, I'll have to get up to updating those.
You're still on Instagram, right?
I'm still on Instagram. I only have Instagram and Goodreads.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, if you post it on Instagram, Cass can do the Facebook, or I can do the Facebook. I don't really want to, but whatever. Darlie had reportedly baked cookies for the neighborhood kids. Now, mind you, her kids were little. Like, I think Devin was like 5, so maybe he was kindergarten age. I don't know if he had gone to kindergarten or he was going to go. Oh no, he was 6, so he probably was in kindergarten. Because he would have turned 7 after the murders. But she would bake cookies for the kids and have the kids over, and they'd play, and those neighborhood kids, would later testify on her behalf during the court proceedings. The Routiers reportedly also assisted a neighbor with cancer by paying a mortgage payment. Life could not have been more perfect. But behind the scenes, the marriage and the truth about the Routiers' finances were farther from what the outsiders believed. Darren's electronics business started to operate at a loss. They were desperate for cash and had applied for a loan shortly before the murders, but were denied the credit. They were behind on their mortgage and owed $10,000 in
Oh,
back taxes and $12,000 on credit cards. There were also marital troubles in the months leading up to the incident. It was also reported that at one point before the murders, Darlie had contemplated suicide and wrote a note to her children in her diary. She asked them to forgive her and not to feel responsible for her death. That is
postpartum depression.
that's where I think maybe there was some postpartum depression there. Whether or not she killed the boys or not, I mean, I don't think she did, but from the start I never thought she did, but
Well, and I know you're gonna probably dive into this more, but maybe when I was younger and I saw the Forensic Files episode, I was like, oh well, why would she be celebrating over her dead child's grave? But now knowing what I know, I'm like, yeah, I would be celebrating over my dead child's grave because it's not really celebrating. Like on the outside, you look like you're celebrating, but you're really not. And like I made a cake and I made lasagna and celebrated, but that doesn't mean I was happy. Like I spent
it was really important for you to do that
yes,
because
it's
it was
it's
for him.
right, not for me. And like when I was younger, I was like, that's a little suspicious. Like why would she? That not confetti, was that silly spray or
Chili Stern. Mm-hmm.
yes, and then she's got the balloons, and then the reporters took a video of it, and I was like, that doesn't sit right. But now knowing what I know, like I I don't want to say I don't know any mom who wouldn't do that, but I know there's probably a couple moms that I'm close with that would do that, and there's
That are in
nothing
the same
wrong with
situation.
that. Yes,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I'd
No.
want I'd want my child to be celebrated too, even if I'm deep down sad and heartbroken over it. I think not celebrating or not I think it was his birthday. It was one of the birthdays, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Not celebrating a birthday would I
Especially
don't know.
since it was much anticipated.
It would yeah, and it would break my heart more not celebrating.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good perspective. Thank you for
Like
that.
okay, so I'm adding to it. Like I'm not trying to trauma dump, but like I just remember saying to Chris, I'm like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and what's it for? To celebrate my dead son. And like I'm not celebrating for me. I was celebrating for him. So yeah, sorry.
It's where you're focusing that energy and that attention. It's not, you know, he's not here. I can't buy him gifts and have a party for him, but I can let him know in heaven, or, in the atmosphere wherever he is surrounding us, that, he is loved, he is remembered, and this is your day. and mommy
Yeah,
love.
this is day. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's what she was trying to do. If she's innocent, that's what I think she was doing. I don't think yeah. I do think she's innocent, where I don't think that instance is what, um, sealed the deal, like, if there's any reason
So
to
for,
believe that
so
she's
for you,
guilty.
if you were on the jury and you saw the silly string, you would have felt that you would have empathy towards her and not convict her.
If I was on the jury, that would not be damning evidence for me.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know, because I'm going to get into that further.
I figured you would, and I'm sorry for jumping
No, it's okay.
way ahead.
It's okay. No, I always do that when you guys are recording. I have all these questions. So that's good. That's good. It gives more information, right?
Yeah.
No, more to discuss. That's right. And this is a discussion podcast, not a storytelling podcast. Um, okay. So the Routiers lived at 5801 Eagle Drive. It was a beautiful home in a modest neighborhood. In the early hours of June 6, 1996, there was a frantic 911 call from the home at around 2:31 a.m. from a distraught Darlie. On the call, Darlie reported that an intruder had broken into the house and had stabbed her two boys and herself with a large kitchen knife. She woke her husband, who had been sleeping upstairs with baby Drake. Darlie had been sleeping on the couch in the family room on the first floor with Damon, who was age 5 at the time, and Devin, who was age 6. Darren and Drake were safe, while Damon, Devin, and Darlie had all been attacked. The TV was on and it was loud, so that possibly could have stopped Darren and baby Drake from hearing the commotion going on in the family room. The stab wounds to the boys were unfortunately fatal. Devin was already deceased when the first responders arrived at the home. He was the older boy. Damon was barely alive, and it was reported that he made eye contact with his parents while the paramedics arrived on the scene. Darlie had a stab wound to her arm and a stab wound to her neck. The doctors reported that her neck injury had come within 2 millimeters of her carotid artery, just like right
So
here.
they were saying it was superficial, wasn't it? Or
The arm, I think the arm wound was superficial, but the stab wound to her neck, I mean, if it had 2 millimeters
yeah, that's
closer,
not.
she would have bled out.
Well, okay, and here, I I hate saying devil's advocate, but you're not gonna sit there and you're not gonna stab yourself in the neck.
I don't think it was a stab. I think it was a slit.
Well, you're not gonna slit your throat, but okay, yeah.
Okay, well, we're I've already established that she was depressed and she had written a suicide note. So I mean, maybe she was going to leave the baby. She wasn't bonded to the babies, but she was bonded to the older two boys, and so she stabbed them to death. And then,
And it did say it looked like, if I recall correctly, they did say that the arm wound looked like it could have been from her, correct? Like
yeah,
it could have,
well,
it was
we'll get into that. Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. So the neck injury had come within 2 millimeters of her carotid artery, and if it had severed that artery, the wound would have been fatal within minutes. Her neck injury was so severe that she had to be taken directly to Baylor Medical Center, and she underwent immediate exploratory surgery. Damon passed away on the way to the hospital while in the care of the paramedics. Okay, so here's my question. Could this be a self-afflicted stab wound, or could it have come from an assailant? So you kind of got into that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to I mean, you don't know where your carotid artery is. And if you just think you want to kill yourself, and women, okay, so first of all, women usually take a pill or something. They don't do anything drastic. When a woman tries to SC herself, she does it in a manner that she could possibly be brought back to life. Whereas if a male SCs himself, that's it. It's more
Well,
violent.
and there's not yeah, there's I was gonna say a woman's is more peaceful. I don't wanna say peaceful, never mind, scratch that. There's there's
Not
more
as,
violence
yeah,
with
yeah,
them, yeah.
right, right. The first officer on the scene was David Waddle. He stated that when he arrived, he saw Darren running out the front door, frantically running to a neighbor's home for help, as his neighbor, Karen Neal, was a nurse. When Officer Waddle entered the home, he found Darlie on the phone talking to dispatchers, and one small boy was already deceased, while the other boy was barely alive. The 911 call lasted about 6 minutes. During that time, Darren could be heard in the first 30 seconds of the call, as well as Officer Waddle when he arrived near the end of the call. Later in court, Officer Waddle stated that Darlie was not concerned about the well being of her boys and that she also refused medical treatment at first for herself. This testimony was disputed by the actual 911 call, where Darlie can plainly be heard speaking to Damon and asking for him to get treatment for his injuries. She said, "Hold on, baby, help is on the way, hang on." Officer Waddle, he did not render any CPR, first aid, or anything. He just kind of stood there like a bump on a log.
So,
Actually, Darren gave CPR to Damon.
Drake was the oldest?
Drake was the baby. He was about 7 months
Okay,
old.
and who's the oldest?
Devin was the
Devin?
oldest. Devin was already
And,
passed.
um,
Damon was 5.
that's for sure, like, he was already gone, they couldn't if he's standing there
Devin, the older boy, was gone. He was already passed. Damon was looking around. Now, I'll get into it later. The way his body was, I have questions.
well, I'm just confused why the cop didn't I know the
Well,
cop's not
okay,
a
so
paramedic.
I don't know. Rowlett, Texas. How many murders do they investigate a year? I
Well,
don't know. I didn't deep into that, but a lot of these small town police departments, they don't know
they're
what to
not
do.
equipped. Yeah, they're not equipped.
No, they're not trained. Um, it was a messy scene,
And it's early
and it was quick. It was 6 minutes.
yeah,
You know,
and it's the
it
90s.
started at 2:30 in the morning. By 2:40, the cops were there and paramedics were on the way.
I just I'm a little hung up on you saying that the cop was just standing there like a bump on a log.
Yeah, he didn't investigate. He didn't look through the house. He just was there. He was the first responder. I don't know. I didn't do police training. So maybe he was on the walkie talkie, dispatching for more information. Backup was on the way, but he was the first guy on the scene. Also disputed were the reasons why 2 bloody towels were found nearby, as Darlie and Darren both reported that Darlie had gone into the kitchen to retrieve some towels to stop the bleeding from the boys' injuries. Police later said that they assumed there were other reasons for the bloody towels, and they mishandled the towels by placing them into an evidence bag together. So when you have 2 towels, so she got one towel for Damon and she got one towel for Devin, and then you take these 2 towels. Now you've got 2 different DNAs. Let's say Devin was a blood type A, and um, Damon was a type O, because my brother's an A and I'm an O. So, and we both have the same parents. Well, you take those 2 towels and you put them together. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, now they can tell the difference, but I don't think in the 90s first they're not as far
No.
advanced, but and then
Right.
they probably
Well,
don't
and then
have
the
the
question
funds.
was, did she take the towel and did she wrap it around her arm? And did she wrap it up to her neck? Like,
Yeah.
you know, what was the use of these towels? Why did she grab these towels?
Well, and what if there was blood that didn't match?
Right. It's either going to
As
be
the
Darlie's
victim.
blood, it's either going to be the boys' blood, or it's going to be the perpetrator's blood.
Well, because stabbing somebody is messy, and a lot
Right.
of times they end up getting,
Yes, when you stab, and then the blade can, it's all gooey. A lot of times
Yeah,
they get cuts on the hands and then they bleed.
yeah.
Yeah. While Darlie was concerned about her two injured boys, she did relay to Officer Waddle that the motive of the attack may have been robbery and inquired if any of her jewelry was missing. Once backup arrived at the home, they discovered that nothing had been taken from the home, nor did they find any trace of the intruder or intruders. Darlie also offered up an explanation to the officers by saying that her fingerprints would be found on the knife as she picked it up without thinking about it.
Okay.
Officer Waddle remained in the living room with the Routiers. It can be noted that he did not render aid to a dying Damon. A second officer arrived on the scene, Officer Walling, and he investigated the rest of the scene, including the utility room and the garage. Meanwhile, Officer Waddle later testified in court that Damon was alive, lying face down on the carpet, trying to move around and attempting to gasp for air. Trigger warning. Officer Waddle additionally said that he observed Damon looking around the room at him and his parents. This is where I question this whole testimony because, first, how would he be looking around the room if he was on his stomach, face down, in pain and distress? Like, he would have to lift his head up and kind of, you know what I mean? And I don't think, as badly stabbed as he would have had the strength to do that unless he was on his back. And then he could look around. So I don't know. I feel Officer Waddle already had it in his mind, and his mind was made up upon arrival that both of the parents were involved and guilty. And he really was not an unbiased witness to the scene. My opinion, not fact.
Well, it does sound like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The house was a bloody mess. There were footprints and blood drops everywhere. Darlie told police that when she awoke, she found one intruder in her home. They fought. He stabbed her in the arm and neck, and then he fled through the utility room out into the garage.
Okay, so it was a stab in the neck.
Well, he stabbed her in the arm and neck. I mean, I still think it was maybe it was
Okay.
a stab and a pull.
Yeah.
It was a kitchen knife. Like, I don't know if it was a butcher knife but it was a large kitchen knife.
Yes, people sit there and try to write off, well, this is why my fingerprints would be on this, or, yes, I touched this. But also, like, when you're dealing with adrenaline, you're not thinking, like in this instance, you're not thinking, oh, I can't touch this. I can't pick up the knife. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I don't know. I just don't think you can. I think that she's innocent. I mean, I know that there's stuff that is out there that suggests that she's innocent now,
It
but
was always out there. It was always out there.
well, I think they're trying to bring it to light now. But
Did you hear that Scott Peterson, Lacey and Connor Peterson's murder, the Innocent
he's
Project?
on the innocent. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
I
on
don't
death row.
know about that one.
So we'll see how
That
that
one
works.
I don't know about.
Yeah, that one.
He acted awfully guilty.
Man, he had a lot of side pieces.
He acted awfully guilty. I don't know why you would dye your hair or bleach your hair and then drive down to
With money.
Mexico with money. Yeah, that's
I mean,
that.
unless he was trying to escape because he knew he was going to get railroaded. I don't know, but I mean, I would have to see the evidence. But that one, I don't know. We'll see what the innocent.
There's a lot of yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the police later discovered that one of the large windows in the garage was open and the screen had been cut. I didn't write this in my my document here. But when the police went into that garage where the cut screen was, there was dust. So where it looks like maybe somebody had cut the screen to come in and out, If somebody had actually come in that way and out that way, that dust would have been disturbed. So the dust wasn't disturbed.
It wasn't.
It was not disturbed. So could somebody have gotten in, cut the screen prior to, or it was already cut, and made it look like that might have been a point of entrance and a point of escape, but not really, because they just wanted to make it look that way. I don't know.
Backup plan?
Okay, that's good too. Yeah, backup plan. That's, yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah. Darlie said she had followed the intruder into the utility room where he dropped the knife on the floor. She stated at that point she had picked it up because she was unarmed. There was a lot of blood in the kitchen near the sink. Darlie had attributed it to when she went to get the towels and also when she was on the phone to 911. Later in court, the police believed that is where Darlie attempted to slit her throat and stabbed herself superficially on her arm. There was also broken glass on the floor that the police stated had blood both underneath and on top of, as if the crime scene was staged. Further investigation found a small child's bloody sock in an alleyway near a trash can 2 houses down from the Routier home, some feet
Okay.
from where the crime took place.
Could have been when the husband was running to the neighbor, or was it the other way?
Oh, that's good. I didn't think of the husband at all. I mean, I know there were questions about him. I never thought about him dropping the sock. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which
I would
direction
be anxious to see, which direction that the sock was found. Was it towards the neighbor's house that he
It just
ran
said
to?
2 houses down in an alleyway by some garbage cans. There was no blood leading to it or away from it either. So whoever had the sock was not bleeding.
Right.
Interesting. I like your thought process. Good job.
I wanted to be a crime scene investigator.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I
But
did.
you're just a crime scene
I'm a
podcaster.
crime junkie.
Yeah. So the sock was tested and it was confirmed that it had both Devin and Damon's blood on it. Did an intruder drop the sock during his escape, or did someone plant it there?
How would the sock come with?
If it was a sock, if it was just the child's sock, it had the child's DNA because, the foot was in it or something, or who knows what. And it was at the trash can. Maybe it was a holy sock, or the other sock had a hole in it, so she threw the socks away and it just fell out of the trash can. But this sock had blood on it, both of the boys' blood.
Right. Well, how did it get out there though? Like,
and who had time to do that? Because in my investigation, Damon only had a few minutes to live once he was stabbed. He only had like 7 or 8 minutes. And it took 6 minutes for the police to get, the 911 call was 6 minutes.
well,
And he died on the way to the hospital.
Where a sock would have been on the intruder. It's like the Monsters Inc. socks on the back. That's 27.
Why would you pick up a kid's sock as a trophy? I mean, unless the sock was so bloody that it stuck to his clothes as he ran out. But there was no blood leading to or from the location of the bloody sock. I'm sorry, this is triggering.
It's hard. It is hard.
It is hard, yes. Yeah. Okay, so interestingly, there was no blood around the sock or leading to the sock. Could Darlie have attacked the boys, planted the sock, staged the broken screen in the window and the rest of the crime scene, and then returned to the kitchen to stab herself at the sink, all without Darren hearing a thing? Now, mind you, the TV was on loud. Exactly, with just in a few minutes.
No.
Fingerprints were taken from the home. Many photographs of the crime scene were taken. For example, the phone Darlie used to call 911 was photographed in different rooms within the house. So what that means was the phone was touched, so it was touched, and then it was put down, and then they
So
took a
it was
picture, and then
mishandled.
somebody else picked up the phone and they put it in the kitchen, and there it was in the kitchen. So the police officers were walking around, moving things around while they were taking pictures of the crime scene.
So it was mishandled
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
and stepped on.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, because they traipsed through all the blood. Yeah. So the phone Darlie used to call was photographed in different rooms within the home. The question was later raised on by the defense team during the trial that they did not know the true scene of the crime because inexperienced police officers were all over the place and had touched everything. The crime scene was definitely contaminated.
It was stepped on and mishandled, very much so.
Yes. As the investigation got underway, a retired officer from the local Dallas Sheriff's Department, James Cron, C-R-O-N, was asked to assist in the investigation. Reports state that he arrived at the scene at about 5:45 in the morning. So 2:30 in the morning, the murders happened. He gets there around
5:45, so like 4 hours later, or 3 hours later.
yeah, about 3 hours later. Mr. Crone later testified that he walked through the home, and after about 20 to 30 minutes of his personal investigation, he made the comment that it looks to me like there was no intruder here.
But if it,
Okay, so the jewelry wasn't gone. No, but nothing was taken from the home. The only thing that
but if
happened.
he was with, okay, so here we go. After everything's said and done, like they just like, if there was an intruder, they just potentially killed 3 people. I'm sure their thought process was just to get the hell out
The
because
police? No,
no,
because they
the
already had.
intruder.
Oh, the murderer. Okay.
Yes, like no
What's that called
jewelry
when
was
you
stolen.
ring when you ring the doorbell and then you run ding dong ditch or something?
Yeah, yeah. But like, I'm sure, like if there was an intruder, they weren't anticipating walking in on these people. Because if they're using a knife from in the kitchen, they didn't come prepared for that.
No, he grabbed. Yeah.
Now, I'd like to
So
see the
maybe he
layout of
came
the
in.
house.
Maybe
I'd
he
like to
came
see the
in and didn't
layout.
realize that the mom and the two boys were going to be downstairs in the living room sleeping. He assumed that everybody would be upstairs in their
Upstairs,
bedrooms.
yes, and that
But
obviously
the
took them
TV
off
was
by
on.
surprise.
If you come into the house and you hear the TV's on, you think there's somebody downstairs, right?
Well, most of the time, yeah.
So he proceeded through. Maybe it was a Cartoon Network or something, and so he thought, well, if it's just kids, I'm just gonna.
No, I did forget about the TV, but I wonder if one of them woke up or something. Like,
One of the boys.
mm, it just uh, I'm just thinking that if you're taken aback or you're taken by surprise, first first people who enter other people's houses like unwarranted or they break into people's houses, they are crazy. And I don't mean that like I mean that's a different level like
They're
of
focused. They're
unhinged.
focused. They know there's a reason why they're there.
But if they're taken aback or startled by something and they have to result too. I keep saying he, but there's no proof that it was even a he, but if they're taken aback and they just brutally killed 2 children and they think they've possibly killed a third person, I'm sure that their thinking isn't, well, I got to go get the jewelry. Their probably thinking I gotta get the hell out of here because I don't know who else is. I don't know who I woke up. I don't know who else is here. They're probably thinking I gotta get the hell out.
Well, remember, they're flaunting their lavish lifestyle.
Yeah,
She has a boob job. He has a Jaguar. They have a big giant boat. They're living the dream. They're helping out a neighbor who has cancer, paying the mortgage. They're baking cookies and having, block parties for all the kids in the neighborhood and stuff. Like, you see your neighbors doing that and you think they're doing pretty well in life.
and if I mean I don't. That doesn't mean that they were asking for it by any means, but people fall in hard times. I'm sure they're thinking like they could spare a little bit, but it doesn't mean you can't judge a person by the cover. It's very picture
Well, and
perfect.
as it was proved, because they were having marital problems. I mean, she had 3 kids back to back to back. His business was not doing very well. They were in debt. They were behind on taxes. They had big credit card debt. Um, and that puts pressure on the marriage as well. Um, Darren treated Darlie like a trophy wife. Look how beautiful she is. And as a woman, you don't feel very beautiful when you've just had baby after baby after baby and everything's flabby and stretched, and you know what I mean. She's got like probably body dysmorphia or something going on. But Darren, I mean, he thought she was beautiful. So there was some sort of disconnect there. And they, like the Chris Watts case, they were financially unstable.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Had this beautiful house and they had all these things, and how are we going to feed these 3 kids? Same questions. 8 days after the boys' murders, a reporter published videos nationwide of Darlie shooting silly string, laughing and smiling at her son's graves, celebrating Devin's 7th birthday, singing happy birthday along with her family. She wasn't the only one there singing and laughing and smiling and doing all the things.
no.
No. The court of public opinion had rendered her guilty of murder based solely upon that video. The sad part about all this was that there were somber moments prior to the broadcasted video where Darlie was obviously sad and emotional standing at the foot of her son's graves. This portion of the video was never shared publicly.
Of course not, because it didn't follow the agenda.
Yep. 4 days after the video was published, Darlie would be officially charged with capital murder. The video also played an instrumental role in her later conviction. Okay. Have you seen the video? Yes, you have seen the video.
It's on
How do
Forensic Files.
how do you think you would react in a situation like this? You already
I
discussed
already
it.
said,
Right.
yeah.
The lead investigator on the case, Officer
Can
Jimmy Patterson. What?
I ask a question?
Sure.
How many women were on the jury?
You know what? I didn't look that up.
I'd be interested to know because I don't know. I'm just interested in that. I wonder if you can even find that. Like, I just wonder what the majority is. If there's like, if it was more men or if it was more women or if they were pretty equal. But um, it's just I. But then again, like as a child, I'm like, you know, that seems really that's really that looks really guilty. Like she looks really guilty, and then going through what I went through and continue to go through, I'm like, I don't know if that that screams guilty to me. So that's why I asked.
Yeah, I can't. I can't find. That's a good question. That is really a good question.
Like, I know that court is supposed to be fair and they're not supposed to be, the jurors aren't supposed to be biased and whatnot. But this was a large case,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure. So I'm sure it would be hard to find somebody who wasn't biased.
Prosecutor Greg Davis showed photos of the dead boys to the 7-woman, 5-man jury.
Oh, so it was a majority of women. Okay.
Yes, and that is from the Chicago Tribune.
This is also Texas, though.
Yes, I'm gonna hold up. I'm gonna put this in my bibliography here so you have it. Hold up, add that to that. Yeah, the Chicago Tribune. I think it was, what's the date on that? Of course, my computer's being slow. February 5th, 1997. Yeah. Okay. Back. We're back. Where was I? We're at the silly string. Here we go.
The jurors, they were shown the video.
Yeah. Okay. The lead investigator on the case, Officer Jimmy Patterson, which, number one, if you're a grown ass man, why is your name Jimmy? Do you know any Jimmys that are grown ups? No. Jimmys are little boys. Or sprinkles that you put on your.
I'm trying to think of.
Do you know any grown up Jimmys? Oh, wait, this is Texas. That's right.
This is Texas, yeah.
This is Texas, yeah.
Brenda
was born in Texas.
I'm not trying to like shoo off any people from Texas, but
we lived in Texas for 3 years.
We did live in Texas for 3 years, but
we have a Texan in our family.
Yeah, we do.
She's a Texan Gemini.
I mean, every state treats women differently, and they have different.
Yeah, they don't like. They do not like women in Texas.
Yes.
No, they don't. Okay.
Birthing.
Yeah. Okay, so Officer Jimmy Patterson went so far as to set up a secret recording at the boys' grave site.
So how is that legal?
He had hoped to catch Darlie on tape confessing to the crime. When he was asked about these activities on the stand, Mr. Patterson pled the Fifth Amendment, which is done when a person wishes to refrain from self-incrimination.
Can I just say, I don't know a lot about the amendments, but I just think the Fifth Amendment is pretty.
Well, that just means I claim the Fifth Amendment because I do not want to say anything that could incriminate me. I might know.
But if you're guilty, it looks
my
guilty
answer
as hell.
might incriminate me.
If you're guilty, it looks guilty as hell when you're like, I plead the Fifth.
It does, but you haven't said anything to cause yourself to be indicted or anything.
Well, how did we find out that he set this illegal? Well, I'm assuming recording up. If he was afraid to
somebody
say
found
that he did
out.
it.
Somebody found out about the secret recording device.
Illegal, but yeah.
Illegally, and they knew it was illegal, and they asked him about it, and he was like, I plead the Fifth. I don't know nothing about that. Even though he did, but he pled the Fifth so that he wouldn't get into any legal trouble for doing something illegal. Illegally recording somebody without their knowledge. That's why when you go into any building that has a recording device, there is a little sign that says, you may be recorded. There might not be sound attached to the recording, but you are being visually recorded.
Well, you're being recorded everywhere, but yeah, please.
Big Brother is watching.
Let's get this terrible case done with.
Oh. Oh, man. Okay. It moved. Come on. I'm only on page like 10.
Oh.
Well, okay, so one was a bibliography and one is pictures for you to do your thing. So, yeah, that only takes it to like 11 pages.
Okay, okay.
Oh, where was I? Where was I? Where was I?
They illegally
Oh,
set up a
yes, 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 yes. Okay. That, oh my gosh. I'm not as far as I thought. Okay, so I'm only on
uh
page 8. Okay. Fifth Amendment. Okay. After Darlie was taken to the hospital, she was quickly taken into surgery to address the stab wound to her neck. Shortly after coming out of surgery, and after having been given Demerol and Phenergan, which is an opioid painkiller, Darlie was questioned by detectives about the murder of her sons. She readily answered the questions of the police and cooperated with the investigation. The question becomes then, why did the police feel it was appropriate to question a woman who had just come out of surgery and was under the influence of strong pain medications?
uh where were the hospital personnel? Because usually they're like, no, you can't question her right now.
Well, yeah, when you
She
watch Law and Order and stuff, like Olivia Benson
or
goes
even
into the rooms and they're talking to these people and then all of a sudden like
the
the heart
doctor
monitor
comes
goes
in.
off and they kick the police out, yeah, or
Yeah.
they tell Olivia that it's the patient isn't stable enough for them to question them yet. Yeah,
Well, I
but
mean, if
I
it's a
I think the hospital people thought she was
thought
guilty
she was
too,
guilty.
and they didn't care. She was a baby killer and she's going to get what's coming to her. That's my opinion, not fact. So I know that in a case such as this, it is important to get the details as soon as possible in order to catch the killer. However, they all had seen the crime scene and she had been questioned there at the scene prior to her surgery. Why not wait until she was no longer under the influence of strong painkillers?
She was interviewed at the scene of the crime.
She was interviewed at the scene of the crime. She was there. They asked her questions. Then they took her to the hospital and they assessed that she needed to go into surgery right away because of that carotid
Well,
artery.
why would they
Now, I don't know how long she was in surgery and how much blood loss she had, but there is a picture of her. She looks pretty rough after that surgery.
as a first responder, why wouldn't they also allow the questioning?
Maybe they didn't realize how bad it was at the time.
Okay.
And their priority was these two little boys who were obviously more injured than she was.
And you said she denied
Right.
help.
Take care of my
Yeah.
boys. Yeah. Yeah. The attack of Darlie, Devon, and Damon occurred in the wee hours of June 6th. Darlie was released from the hospital on June 8th. The police brought Darlie from the hospital to the funeral home. David Rogers, the pastor of the Shepherd's Heart Fellowship Church, testified that he had been approached to officiate the burial service for Devon and Damon. On the 8th of June, he waited for Darlie and Darren to arrive and testified to the following. Well, I mean, they said they picked her up at the hospital and brought her there for the viewing. However, there was a long delay because they had taken her to the police station. Evidently, there had been several hours of questioning, so we were there for quite a long time waiting. Again, that seems sus to me because she was a grieving mother at the time who had been nearly killed in an attack upon herself and her sons. And instead of her husband picking her up from the hospital and taking her to the funeral home to see the bodies of her sons, the police felt it necessary to pick her up themselves and take her to the station for questioning for hours. And then after exhausting her with the questions, they took her to the funeral home. The pastor also stated during the court proceedings that Darlie was grieving appropriately. I observed a mother who was grieving and heartbroken and anguishing over the loss of her children. Back to the silly string event. On Friday, June 14th, now remember on the 8th was the funerals. On Friday, June 14th, a prayer service was held for the boys at the gravesite. The service was somber. Darlie's aunt, Sherry Moses, testified about the prayer service. Sherry also testified at trial that Devin had been looking forward to his upcoming 7th birthday party when he was murdered. The family wanted to be able to give him a party. Following the prayer service, the family held a birthday party for Devin. Darlie's younger sister, Dana, brought silly string to the party, and the family agreed to put on a happy face for the sake of those attending. Later on, the video of the birthday celebration was admitted into trial. The wiretapping of the gravesite had captured the prayer service that occurred before the birthday party. However, the defense did not ask for the tape to be admitted into evidence. This was harmful to Darlie's claim of innocence because the jurors watched the video of the birthday party over and over and over again, believing erroneously that Darlie was celebrating the death of her children. One of the jurors, Charlie Sanford, stated on a television program about the show that the jury watched the video 8 times.
Okay, well, they did a pretty good job because even on Forensic Files, they were pushing that narrative that she was guilty. And watching that, you really do.
I never felt she was guilty watching that. I never felt guilty she was watching it. She had this thing still on her neck. She looked like death warmed over.
Well,
She just looked so sad, and she looked like she was medicated, going through the motions. That's what she looked like to me.
But the reporter who did the video and had it shown, they did a very good job at painting. They probably were like, yes, jackpot, right?
Yes, I got her. Which
Yeah.
is why they wiretapped the grave.
Which a lot of moms do that. But okay. They say everything's better or bigger in Texas.
It is. Sanford has since changed his mind about Darlie's guilt, claiming he now believes she is innocent. Darlie's defense attorney was later asked why he did not admit into evidence the prayer service that occurred before the birthday party,
Because it didn't fit his narrative.
Since it didn't show Darlie grieving appropriately. Well, right, because who paid for the attorney? Did Darren pay for the attorney because he was broke? He just had to pay for a burial service for 2 of his children. His wife just went through, emergency surgery. Like, I don't know what their insurance was or anything. They're a young couple. He was broke. Yeah. So was it a court-appointed attorney? I think it was, but I'm not sure. So anyway, Mulder replied that he didn't really have any idea at the time that the silly string incident would play such a major part with the jurors. Mr. Sanford later contended that the tape might have been enough to change his and other jurors' minds, stating, if we had seen that other tape, it most likely would have. So they brought up the silly string, and so the defense should have come back and said, okay, well, we don't have video of this, but this illegally obtained information where they had the prayer service and you hear mom bawling and screaming and crying, that might change your mind. So, thoughts so far?
I hate this.
I know. You always hate my episodes.
I do.
Okay. On June 18th, the police arrested Darlie on 2 counts of capital murder. Darlie was indicted by a grand jury on 2 counts of murder, but the prosecution only moved forward on the charge pertaining to her youngest son, Damon. And this was due to his age at the time of the murder, because the prosecution would be able to seek the death penalty. And I'm thinking, well, maybe if they didn't get a conviction with Damon, they would get a conviction with Devin. And so there would be no double jeopardy because it would be a totally different case.
Devin's the younger.
Devin is the older one.
Okay,
Damon,
so they're
Damon
trying
was
to,
the youngest. And because he was 5, it was an immediate death penalty case.
so they are doing it on his,
They did it on the
so
baby, on the middle child, on Damon,
the one that was on the floor.
the one that was still alive, looking at mom and dad.
Yeah, the one that was on the floor on his belly, and then the other one that the same one that was looking around.
Yes, he's looking around.
Yeah. Okay.
But mind you, he only had minutes to live after he was bleeding out, but he had enough energy to look around.
Yeah.
And make eye contact with a bunch of people.
But,
I mean, if you're bleeding out, I would think that you would be kind of like your eyes rolling back in your head kind of deal. But again, I wasn't there. I don't know. Darlie's trial began on January 6th, 1997.
happy birthday.
In Kerrville, Texas. The prosecution depicted Darlie as a spoilt, materialistic woman who couldn't cope with mounting debt, and the loss of her affluent lifestyle. Hey, kids. Oh, hey, kids are expensive, demanding, and needy. Did you know that?
No.
They are. The prosecution believed that she murdered her children because of the family's financial difficulties. Darlie's attorney, Douglas Mulder, argued that there was no coherent motive for her to murder her children. This is where it gets interesting. He pointed out that the prosecution did not have a motive, a confession, or any witnesses. Against her attorney's advice, she took the stand as a witness and withered under cross-examination by prosecutor Toby Shook. The prosecution suggested that there was a financial motive for the murders since both boys had life insurance policies out on them. Now,
Okay.
a lot of parents take out life insurance policies on their kids. You know, the Globe Life, they send them monthly, insure your kids. So backstory here, you were born in 94, your sister was born in 97, your brother was born in 2000. I wanted to get life insurance for my children when you were little, because it was like $2 a month. It wasn't a lot of money.
But that would have, yeah.
My mother said, why would you get life insurance on your child? It's almost like you're bargaining or expecting that your children are going to die. And I never did get you guys insurance when you were little, because it's like, am I betting that my children will die so that I get $10,000? Like, is my child really worth $10,000? No, you're priceless. You're worth more than $10,000. So I did, but some people, I don't have life insurance for myself now. I should. But the defense contended that the amount of the boys' life insurance was only about $10,000.
So that
And it was
probably
not
paid for their funeral.
right. It was not enough to cover their funeral expenses. It was like $5,000 per child. The defense also asked why, if she was willing to murder for money, she did not kill her husband instead, as he had over an $800,000 life insurance policy. There's your cash cow. The defense also asked if she killed her 2 older sons to preserve her lavish lifestyle, why did she leave her youngest son, 7-month-old Drake, alive and unharmed? Why would you kill the 2 that you know the best, that you've bonded with the best?
She didn't. Well, I don't think she did it.
No, I don't think she did either. On the stand, medical examiner Vincent DiMaio, M-A-I-O, D-I-M-A-I-O, stated that the wound inflicted on Routier's neck was only 2 millimeters away from severing her carotid artery. He added that her injuries did not match with the self-inflicted wounds that he had seen before. However,
Oh, so okay, I did not know this. Okay,
that's the
sorry.
medical examiner. I think he was a defense witness.
Okay, so he's saying it was not self-inflicted.
Yes, her injuries did not match with self-inflicted wounds.
Oh, okay.
But
See, I did not know that. Okay, but
the physicians who treated her at Baylor University Medical Center stated previously to the police officers that the wounds could have been self-inflicted.
could have, would have,
Could have.
should have.
Could have. Right. Either way, the jurors did not get to see any photographs of her injuries.
I could have got a soda today, or I could have went and got Starbucks today.
Panera
Did I?
Bread. No.
I could have.
You can still go. It's 8:30.
I could have.
You should
Does
have.
that mean I did?
No. Tom Bevel, an expert witness of the prosecution on blood stain analysis, informed the court that cast-off blood on the back of her nightshirt suggested that she had drawn her hand back every time before stabbing the children repeatedly.
Yeah.
Now, if she's laying
But
on a
could there have
couch,
been?
if she's laying on the couch with her back to the kids, and he's stabbing, where's
Yeah.
that blood spatter going?
I think. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it might have. I don't know. Or if she was standing, bleeding, like in a daze, and he stabbed her first and then stabbing the kids. I don't know. I don't know. So the jury found Darlie guilty, and she was sentenced to death by lethal injection on February 4th, 1997. So her trial lasted a little less than a month. She is currently held at Mountain View Unit in Texas. Her sentence is to be carried out at the Huntsville Unit's execution chamber. She has appealed the case twice based on allegations of irregularities during the trial, both of which have been denied. There are many documentaries about the crime and the question of Darlie's guilt or innocence. Darlie still maintains her innocence. Since 2018, DNA tests have been ordered multiple times after the technology has advanced. So as the technology on DNA has advanced, she has tried to get more tests on that DNA. As of 2022, the results of these tests are still pending. So after hearing the evidence I presented, have you changed your mind on her guilt or her innocence? I would say you have, because at the beginning you weren't sure.
I mean, I was leaning on innocent. But I know a big thing for a lot of people is that graveyard. And I was under the impression that the wounds were self-inflicted. So I was like, I mean, I'm on the, I don't think she did it. And I didn't think she did it, you know, just based off of the video, but the the knife stuff, the stabbing stuff kind of threw me off a little bit. But you said about the medical examiner saying no, these were not self-inflicted, and then the physicians being like, well, they could have been. That kind of sold it for me that she's innocent, like 100%.
So what if, the cops came in and said, oh yeah, like these two boys were murdered and here's their mother. And then, the nurses and the doctors in the emergency room were like, oh yeah, that definitely looks like it's self-inflicted.
Okay, so
Everybody, we had a court of opinion going on from the moment
yes,
Officer Waddle walked into that home.
yes, and they railroaded her. She was the easiest person. They didn't have the resources that we have now. They probably didn't have, well, they definitely didn't have the funding that we do now. And that I don't even know if they have the funding for that now.
No,
But
very
like,
underfunded.
this is Texas. where
That's where the
I don't want to
cowboys
get
are.
I don't want to get political or anything, but it's the woman's often put last after, I mean, even
Fetuses.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, medical reasoning and stuff, you know, they're often put last. So I think they walked into this case and they're like, "She did it, open and close, like we're done." Like it was an open and closed case for them. They didn't have the funding, they didn't have the resources, and nor did they really want to do anything.
Right. Right.
I
We
mean,
already
they
had we
moved
already
that.
had our prime suspect right there.
Yes, they had their prime suspect. It was easier
She's a
to.
spoiled brat. She's got fake boobs. She's got all this
It was
fancy
it
jewelry.
was easier to prove her guilt than to prove her innocence.
Well, right. So I'm near the end. Darren lost custody of baby Drake because of his support for Darlie.
Oh my god.
Yep. Drake was placed into foster care, but eventually he was given to Darren's parents to raise, and Darren was granted visitation only with his only remaining child. Darren had a lot of financial difficulties after the events of June 6, 1997, and eventually he rebuilt his life. Once he was in a better place financially, Darren did end up receiving full custody of baby Drake, and he raised him by himself. Darren and Darlie finally divorced in September of 2011, and he has since remarried. The reason why they divorced was because she was in jail. He expected her to come home. She wasn't coming home. She let him move on.
Yeah, very selfless.
Yeah, questions have been raised about what Darren's role in the attack on Darlie and the murders of Devin and Damon were. However, nothing has been substantiated. Darren still believes that his ex-wife is innocent.
That speaks volumes because he could have been like, I'm for her innocence, she would never do that, and then they leave, they go separate ways, and he's like, no, that bitch is guilty. And it really speaks volumes to me that he still thinks that she's innocent.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it could have been a robbery gone wrong, and the perpetrator's still out there, still.
Has done it again. Did he get caught for something else and he's in jail?
I I I hope not, but
I hope he was caught. I hope he was caught and is
I
in
hope he
jail.
didn't do it again. But
Right. I hope he was caught doing something, breaking and entering or something. Okay, so Drake is about 29 years old now. He still visits his mother in jail. He had been diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia as a youth. But in my research, I found that he did receive treatment and is now in remission. I guess it's one of the most curable cancers, but he's a cancer survivor. He lost his mother to jail and his two brothers to murder. He was in foster home, finally reunited with his dad, and he fought cancer. And he's not yet 30. Like his father, Drake continues to believe in his mother's innocence.
well, I'm not really. I don't want to say that his opinion doesn't matter, but at 7 months old, you're not going to remember anything. You're just going off of what you're being told.
No, but from what I understood, he's grown up and he's a pretty decent young guy. Like with
Oh, I'm not.
all the stuff that he's been through with, the murders and the trial and the foster care and the grandparents raising him and the cancer and all that. Like he's gone under the radar for all these years.
I am glad that
Didn't get himself
he's
into
doing
trouble or
good.
anything.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't really speak to me in the way that the ex-husband saying that she's innocent.
right. Well, yeah, he's just
He's going off of what he's being
regurgitating what
told.
dad's
Yeah.
told him, what the, yeah.
I wonder what the parents, what the in-laws would say.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they probably support their son's um, opinion, right? So that's the end of my discussion of Darlie Routier and the murders of those two precious, adorable little
Thank God,
boys.
because I have been in distress for an hour and 30 minutes. I have picked the gel nail polish off of my nails.
Oh
I'm
my,
just, I am distressed.
I'm
I keep
sorry.
fidgeting. I keep switching positions just because I'm so uncomfortable. I am in so much stress.
I didn't mean to stress you out. I gave
No,
trigger warning at the beginning.
oh yeah, you
You've
did. You
been
did.
warned.
I was warned. Yeah.
So I have some pictures that we'll probably share on the um, Instagram. A picture of little Darlie when she was cute and little young. Then there's some pictures of the boys. Darlie looks a lot like the boys. Um, there's a picture of the scene in the kitchen.
When is her sentence supposed to, like, when is she's
Well,
on,
I think she's still under appeals and things. And she's one of, I think, 8 women in Texas that are on death row.
I hope that they're able to find out
Well, remember, okay, so
everything.
she's lethal injection, and I don't know if they're still using lethal injection. I think they've kind of done away with lethal injections because they can't find the drugs or something. So I don't know. I might be wrong about that, but I know there's a lot of states that don't do the lethal injections anymore because the drugs are hard to find, or the drugs aren't working and they're having botched executions.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I just hope that
Yep. But there's also a picture of the family. Darren and Darlie and the 2 boys. What else do I have here? Um, there's a couple of the family of 4, not with a baby. There's also a schematic of the home, the family room. The family room was here, and the kitchen was here, and then the utility room was here. So it went out that way.
okay, I'm anxious to see that because,
Okay,
like I
yeah,
said,
that's there.
I would be
And
anxious
then
to see
I
it.
also have a picture of her, I guess when she came out of surgery in the ICU, um, tubes everywhere. She looks rough, rough,
Oh,
rough, rough. It's still got the, yeah. And it looks like the cut started here, and there's a cut here, and then it looks like there's a cut here on her shoulder. So it's like the knife came out and then went back in. Now I don't know where on the arm. I don't have a picture of the arm. I don't maybe
I
this is the arm that they're talking about.
I hope that in this, like, not this lifetime because, you know, I hope that we find out. Like, I hope they're able to find out what happened.
I wish the Innocence Project would take on her case.
It does worry me that the pictures are the phone's here and then the phone's there and then the phone's in this place. That worries me a little bit because it to me that sounds like they were not planting things, but they definitely were stepping on that crime scene.
Well, and yeah, there. We had the paramedics in there. You had, what was her name? Karen Neal, the nurse. I don't know if she did come, but Darren went over to get her. Um, yeah.
It doesn't sound like protocol was followed at all.
No.
You're not supposed to
Well, I
touch
mean, maybe these
anything.
officers didn't really know what they were doing because they had never done that before. Or if they'd
Yeah.
had a murder, it hadn't been in a home with 2 little babies.
Well, I mean, still though, in any murder case, you're not supposed to touch anything.
Well,
Nothing.
you know that, and I know that, but that's only because they're pod goals.
True, but whatever.
Okay.
I'm just glad this is over.
Yeah. Now I got to think about what I'm going to write about next. I mean, I have lots of ideas.
Oh God.
Do you have any ideas? Any suggestions, like no more child murders for a while, or what?
Yes, please, no child, nothing for a minute.
For a minute.
Yeah. I don't, because I had to edit this and like I had to listen to it twice. Oh my gosh.
Well, at least you're
I'm
not making our numbers look um, higher than they are by listening to them on YouTube and on um, Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those kind of places where you can find our
um
podcast.
can't find that podcast. Well, not Apple. I don't have it on Apple.
No.
I have to have something with Apple. I haven't set up yet,
Oh.
but
So we're just Spotify and YouTube. Like, share, and
iHeartRadio.
subscribe. What?
We are iHeartRadio too.
iHeartRadio. Oh, that was the other one. Okay.
Yeah.
Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Like,
Yep.
share, subscribe. Send us some love. Send us some comments. Let us know what you want to hear next, what you don't
Were
want to
you in
hear.
distress?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're on
Instagram
Instagram.
and Facebook.
Yep, cast us a Facebook. Anything else?
No.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for
Yeah,
watching.
thank you. Yes, yes, thank you. If you have made it this far and have sat with me this far to hear this awful and tragic story, thank you.
I think it's a really
It really,
important story. Because
I mean,
I
no
think
murder's comfortable, but
I
this is very uncomfortable. Anything that involves children is very uncomfortable.
I think her case needs looked at with fresh eyes, and
Oh, absolutely.
I think she is innocent, and I think she has done enough time, and I think she needs to come home and
Yes,
rebuild her life.
yes.
You know, because
Oh,
she's 50, 53, 54 years old. She can't have any more kids, maybe, but she can live her best life from here out
yeah,
if somebody just gives her a chance.
yeah. Do you think she's innocent?
Yes.
I was asking the listeners.
Well, I know you were, but I answer yes for them.
You did, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Oh, God. Thank God.
Now get to editing.
Yeah, all right.
Who's
Bye.
next? Who's next on the? So it's your turn next.
No, it's Cass.
Is it
I
Cass?
did
Cass
mine.
just did one.
Yeah, I just did one too.
Well, I just did one too.
Yeah, so it's Cass.
It's Cass's next.
Cass next.
Okay, well,
Yes.
we better let her know so she can start working on it now.
Yeah, I have to work on one. I have nothing.
Oh, I have
Maybe
ideas
this.
in my head. This has been, I forget when I started this, man, months ago. But I like had it happen and I banged it out yesterday. So,
Oh,
okay, kid,
all right.
have a good night.
Bye.
Peace.
Peace.